studios of Fathom SEO, it's the starting lineup with Paul Richlovsky.
All right, welcome to the starting lineup. I'm your host, Paul Richlovsky, and I'm here today with a very special guest. His name is Dave Whaley. He's the content manager at Fathom SEO, and we're going to talk about a topic very near and dear to my heart, and that's content writing and SEO. Dave, thanks for coming to the show today.
Hi, Paul. Thanks very much. It's a great pleasure being here.
What are some of the things that you see on websites most often where people mangle the English language and it comes off as really amateur or poor?
It definitely comes across as amateur and poor. When you see a website that's got misspelling or bad grammar, it just really brings the quality of the website down. It makes people look kind of silly and stupid and immature.
Okay, tell me something about SEO writing.
It's a balance between writing well, writing with finesse, writing with polish, writing in a way that reflects the client's website, and getting those keywords in there in a meaningful way to increase what we call the saturation level of specific terms on the website. So a lot of it's about editing and just clever placement and creating content as necessary that furthers the goals of the website without going against those goals, but still reinforces the basic nature of the site and content and keywords.
I'm glad to hear you say the ending part about keeping consistent with the a given site's objectives. Because when you said saturation levels, I began to think that the writing, for SEO should always be mechanical and formulaic and completely without a human in mind. And it's good that you brought it back to the human element. Because I don't think we want to, I make sure that people aren't misled at the idea that SEO writing has to be writing that's only for a search engine robot and not for the user of the site.
That's a great point you bring up. We have to write, websites are made for people.
Sure.
Unfortunately, search engine robots aren't people, so we've got to get them to understand what a site's about and yet not lose the quality or the meaningfulness of a website for people. So we always write with the aesthetics of a website and the personality of the website in mind. We try to make it as flavorful and colorful as their site was initially without changing that nature as we do our thing to it. We're kind of like ninjas.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, operating in the background. Another thing that should be said is that Google says itself explicitly that the more a website is usable and it serves its readers, the happier they're going to be with the changes or the quote-unquote SEO that you're doing. If you're making changes just for the sake of pleasing Google, which might not have any impact at all on a reader, they say you shouldn't do that. So Google itself, who's the big search engine along with other search engines, who are creating your rankings. In fact, the reason for your SEO, they are saying to serve readers. So I think that's important for our audience to remember, because a lot of times people think, well, what can I do to please Google? And they forget all about this audience of people who are the very reason for their site's existence.
We often see that with our clients when they come to us, where they've gone overboard in trying to make their site search engine friendly, so it's no longer readable or enjoyable, or they just stuff a site with keywords everywhere, and it looks bad, it's unprofessional, it's manipulative. They can often be penalized by Google for that.
Okay, here's a little free association for you. I know you're an artist and you like to play with words. Fill in the blank. The best writing is
natural. I think that's why there are people who are talented as writers as opposed to technologists or graphic designers. Writers are pretty comfortable with putting words onto a page of some sort, and they have a natural feeling of how to do it. If it's forced, if it seems too elaborate, too sophisticated, then it's not going to sound good.
What's different about writing sales copy as opposed to writing music reviews, which I understand you've done a lot of in the past?
A review will oftentimes feature a few details that aren't so good about a band or an album. And when you're writing sales copy, you don't really tend to talk about things that aren't good about your product or service.
Right.
So it's not less honesty, but sales copy is just talking about the positive things about a product, talking convincingly, optimistically, encouragingly about whatever you're trying to sell.
And naturally, right?
Naturally.
Okay. If you're writing for a website, what are some things that you do differently as opposed to when you're writing for a traditional magazine or a newspaper or something that is strictly offline?
More and more studies are showing that people who look at websites, don't even necessarily read, they
Right.
glance around.
Right.
So we use a lot of like page headlines, a lot of graphics to get people's attention, a lot of small blocks of copy, to make it more of an entertaining reading experience as opposed to like a knowledge satisfying reading experience, which is oftentimes if you're reading like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or something like that, much more voluminous, much deeper and in-depth reporting. Mm-hmm. Not to say that a website can't be totally factual and have lots of information, but those are usually side pages that you go to if you're interested in more.
Right, right. Yeah, that's really interesting. And if people want to know more about this, those of you in the audience, they can check out useit.com, and this website has a lot of research. There's a guy named Jakob Nielsen who does usability studies, and he's a quote-unquote usability expert, and he has lots of writing about how you write on the web and how people read on the web, and he uses a metaphor of hunters and foragers and how people are very fickle and particular, and they want to find information quickly, and the quicker that they can get there, the better. And they're only going to use websites that serve whatever specific goals they have. And if you aren't giving them a friendly, place to, or if you're not giving them the food that they want, the big piece of meat, then they're going to reject your site and go somewhere else.
And that's actually something that we do at Fathom. One of the services we provide our clients is we'll look at their website, which they may have designed from a readability or usability perspective that's like or akin to a magazine or newspaper, and we'll give them consultation services and say, okay, let's change this, let's make this simpler, let's move this complicated information to subpages, let's make this more interesting and make it pop more, and oftentimes we increase their the time that people will stay on their websites because they find it a more enjoyable experience.
What are some easy things that, and since you were just talking about what people can do to improve their websites, what are some things that people can do on their own to improve their websites? Very, very simple steps if they're not SEO experts like yourself.
Actually, that's probably the number one thing I'd say if people want to do for themselves would be to break up huge pages into several smaller pages that only have a few paragraphs each about specific subjects. That's way somebody can read about this, then they can read about this, then they can read about that.
And if they want, something more exhaustive than perhaps a link to a PDF or something that's meant to be longer, so they can get to that, and it doesn't interfere with one single page's ability to rank for a keyword, as people are eager for keyword rankings on.
I think the whole thing is from a writing point of view, you're always thinking about who is my audience.
Right.
So if you're creating a website, you have to think about who's my audience, why are they coming to my site, and make that experience as interesting and as enjoyable as possible without being an overload. Okay.
I think that's about all the questions I have. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up today?
The one thing that I do think is important for people to think about as writers for when we're doing SEO for our clients, is we bring a lot of value to our clients that they don't even think about.
Okay.
Like for instance, when we're cleaning up their copy and making it better, when we're rewriting things so it makes more sense and it's understandable, when we're correcting their grammar and their spelling on their site, when we're making new pages, or
giving someone a page title, which is going to cause a page to be noticed. That wasn't otherwise before.
A lot of times our clients don't really think about the fact that we're enhancing their site, and we're not just making it search engine friendly so that the search engine will bring a lot more traffic to your site and increase your leads. We're also just making it a better quality site to begin with. It's like we're constantly editing their site and improving it. And that's something we just do as part of our job. But I don't think our clients often think about that. It's like we're giving them a car wash every month, polishing their car up for them.
Well, Dave, it was really good that you could be here to enlighten all of us. I'm Paul Richlovsky for Dave Whaley. This has been another edition, happy, exuberant edition of The Starting Lineup. Thanks a lot for watching.
For more information, go to fathomseo.com.